And because it's them, I've picked up some other bands. This newer band I'm doing, Eggy. They're really cool. They're on Jamflow management, which is Twiddle, and a couple of the other bigger jam bands are on there. They're just kind of blowing up right now, and I'm doing a full length with them. I'm actually mixing some stuff for them tomorrow from another session they did. But then we started tracking last month on a record that'll continue next month and probably go through the year. It's probably going to be like a 7 or 8 month thing. They're really great songwriters. Wow. So I'm really sinking my teeth into that one. I'm getting ready to go back into the studio in February. Well, not go back, for the first time going into track that guy Connor Bracken and the Mother Leeds band, who I've been working with. I've done stuff with, I did a bunch of punk stuff and like that pop punk stuff. I did a bunch of that, bunch of bands around here, The View from Here, Sun Title, The Cold Seas. We did, I was part of a Saves the Day. The band Saves the Day. There was like a tribute record that they made, and I ended up mixing a bunch of songs on that. So that led me to do a bunch of like punk stuff again, which is sort of where I got my start. So that was fun. So
it's like word of mouth and just like getting your foot in the door, that initial foot in the door really, really made a big difference.
Yeah, I reach out to bands. If I like them, I'll reach out to them. You know, I'm not afraid to go reaching out to bands, start talking to people, and you know, we'll see. I've got other stuff I can't talk about quite yet that's happening, but there's some other artists that are coming up this year, as well as some other studio news to be coming soon, hopefully. So we'll see. I actually might be moving this to a full facility pretty soon, so we'll see how that all transpires.
Wow. So for the meantime, you're not tracking in this room, just mixing.
No, this is just mixing. Actually, all of my mic pre's and mics and everything, like I was telling you before we started, are at the studio that I'll be probably moving to, because I'm tracking a bunch of stuff there. And we're just trying to work out some of the final details and stuff, and we'll try to get that going. But yeah, this year's going to be really good. There's a lot on the horizon, and then we'll see what happens with TV. You know, with COVID being, you know, as of right now, today, pretty bad. We'll see. You know, we did about 15 performances last year instead of 100.
That's it.
Yeah. So
wow.
We'll see how that goes. I was expecting to sort of be back in the flow this year, but
absolutely. So yeah. Oh, so this is what I wanted to ask you about. So you told me 16-hour days. You know, you're hardcore in NBC and also working with artists and just like full throttle. How do you stay energized? Or you kind of told me like the music energizes you, but do you have any practices, habits? Maybe it's running, maybe it's meditation. So anything that kind of helps keep you grounded and focused and energized.
Yeah, I work out. I try to work out every day. This last year hasn't been the best for me with that. With COVID, it's been a bit of a challenge, but I'm back into it now and kind of finally figured out the working out at home thing. I was a big gym guy. I used to go to the gym like every day. To kind of get out the stress that way. So I'm getting back into that now and getting back into shape. As far as a creative practice, I don't know. I'm just always thinking about this stuff. Like, you would think it would stop at some point, you know? It just doesn't for me. It just doesn't shut off. I mixed until my wife said no more last night, and I came upstairs and hung out with the family and did everything, and still in the back of my mind when I'm going to bed, I'm thinking about, well, if I change this thing to this and I don't know how to turn it off. So it's, even when I'm dead tired and I can't, like, I need to sleep, I'm somehow still thinking about this. And I don't know why. It's just been like that my whole life. So it just goes.
I love it. It's like, you sound like me in my 20s, but you still have it.
Well, I went through a period in my 30s where I think that I lost interest in it. And it was definitely a job for a while. Especially with having young kids and, you know, buying a house and fixing things, you know, like it became part of like my work schedule. And yeah, when I wasn't there, I was thinking about, well, like, you know, today I did this mix on this country artist. The next time I do a country artist, I should do this to the bass or whatever. Like, that would happen, but I sort of was able to compartmentalize it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And, you know, honestly, a few years ago, I stopped drinking, And not that I was like an alcoholic or anything, but it just not drinking on the weekends, it gave me more energy during the week. And somehow that just like triggered all these things in my brain back into music even more. And it's just
That's
like, I don't
amazing.
know if it was just like I was running on empty and like between all that stuff and working all the time, like I just burnt myself out. I also, towards the end of doing records, the last few records I did were not like the best experience with the artist. So like headbutting and like I was turned off from it a little bit. And I think I went down and out of it. And now like I'm back into it like more than I was when I was a kid.
It's amazing.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
a light went off and just, yeah.
It's so interesting you say that about alcohol because I do notice that when I drink more, I'm way more lethargic. If I have a beer at night, I'm going to be more lethargic the next morning, you know?
Well,
Even just one beer.
Well, what I noticed is like, you know, you work hard, you play hard, right? So it's like you do 5 kick-ass TV performances during the week and then you let loose on the weekend. Like you're entitled, you know, you're totally entitled. But then what I found is the next week, it's like, well, Monday comes around and, you know, maybe I'm not paying as much attention to that next mix because I'm like tired and I'm in a crappy mood because I'm not hungover, but like it just drained my system a little bit. And it was like, with my schedule and with what I want to do, like something had to give, you know? And as far as like I took that out and then like that extra, you know, like 20% that I needed to make it to 100 kicked in.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm working with 100% all the time and it's much better.
That's awesome. So you don't drink at all now, like ever?
No.
Off the alky.
No, yeah. Yeah, no, I just don't even really think about it now. It's just, I don't have enough time to think about that, you know? It's like between the music and the family, and it's like that's encompassing so much right now. There's no time for much else.
Yes, I totally understand that. It's like when we were younger, we had time for our friends and we had time for all these other things. And now it's just literally just family, working, music. That's it, you know, done.
Yeah, well, that's why it's really good to make friends while you're making records, you know? That's the other thing. As you get older, it's harder to keep friends. And it's harder to see your friends, but if you get to make music with awesome people every day, you're
That is so true.
around good people. Like again, I'm just always amazed. You know, I'm always amazed at when I'm with an artist, and you think like, oh, I've got all this experience doing this, and you think you know things, and then they say something that's totally off the wall that you would just never think of, and it makes the most sense ever, and it just opens your mind to a new way of thinking about something or approaching something. I want to get that every day. Like that's like I just feel like so many great musicians have that, and you get to get a little bit of it out of them, and they don't even know it, you know. And it's just like your takeaway out of it, and the more I can get out of that, the more fun I'm having and learning, you know.
Yeah. The pursuit of learning and growth and making it a lifetime pursuit, I think is the right approach. And I feel like people that keep at this keep learning. They don't.
I'm hoping I
get
got another
stagnant.
25 years so I can then retire, but I need to do this for 25 more years. I don't want to think I know everything and then just sit there and become the
I don't think
grumpy
you're going
old
to
man.
stop in 25 years based on what you've been telling me so far.
Oh, we'll see. It'd be cool if I did. My system would probably like it. By then I'll be 65. It'd be a good time.
I think you can make it to 80, man.
Maybe.
If you want.
We'll
if you
see.
want to retire, that's cool. I can't even, I'm so far away from that. I mean, I'm not. Like, it's going to pass by in an instant, but.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you're far away from it, but I'm just trying to figure out if it's so far away, how do I keep the next 25 interesting, and how do I keep going doing this and keep it fresh and creative and figure out a way to go along with the music as it's going.
On that note, like what kind of goals do you set for yourself? How do you think about that? Like, you know, do you look far ahead and plan things out? Are you thinking about what those things are going to be?
Yeah, I mean, eventually in the next 10 years, I'd probably like to go to doing records full time. You know, at some point, something I'll have to give. And, you know, I'm not the biggest New York City person. I've been commuting there now for 20 years, but The city has changed for me. I'm not a young guy anymore. The art has definitely sort of left Manhattan in a way. It's how are artists going to create when you can't get a studio apartment for $4,000 a month? It's so like to me the city has changed. I'm not into the vibe of it right now. I'd love to be like have my own place out in the country somewhere just to mix and record and do that for like the last 10, 15 years of my career. But we'll see. I never thought I'd be doing TV. So,
Right. And here you are.
And here I am 18 years later. So, I just kind of go with it. I work really hard and just hope that, wherever it takes me. But my plan is just to keep going. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I totally hear that. I feel like with me, it's just like, maybe I should be thinking more like 5 years in the future, 10 years in the future, but it's hard for me to kind of think beyond, I don't know, a few months in the future. I'm just like, I like what I'm doing and I want to be doing more of the things I like and less of the things that I don't like. And just kind of, it's just for me, it's about building towards removing more of the stuff that I don't want to be doing as much of and building towards more of the stuff that I do want to be doing. And it's not really, I don't really have like I want to have a big facility. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think about that right now. Maybe I will when my son is a bit older and I'm sleeping more or who knows?
Yeah, I think it's just, for me, as I keep doing this, it's just trying to figure out, well, how can I do this forever? Like, how do I keep, I don't want it to become stale. Like, I could just go to NBC every day and that would be fine and I could pay my bills but it would, if I didn't do anything else, it would get boring. If I wasn't pursuing I could just do the same mix every day and it would probably be fine. It'd be okay and it'd be great. And I wouldn't have to put the effort in, but I want to be challenged. I want to try to make my craft better, to get better so I can work with better people. Just like I want it to keep going. I want the last person to remember me. So in 5 years, they call me for something or whenever it is. It's funny how, since I started this, I've worked with people that I worked with 10 years ago, that like out of the blue you talk to or whatever. And it's just like all of these, I booked something recently for someone that I talked about booking something with years ago and never did. And then they called me out of the blue, all these relationships, all these things. Like I'm always just trying to be positive and get something out of the artist and hopefully they get something out of me.
Yeah. It's that slow burn approach of just planting the right seeds, planting many seeds, and slowly some of them grow, and you're just putting out positive energies, and you're putting out.
I do like a long term.
And you're giving. Yeah.
Yeah, I do long term. There's like a 10 to 5, and then every year I reassess it the year. Well, like I want it to be, this year I thought, well, last year was good. I got to there where I wanted to get in 2 years and 1. So maybe this year, let's try to do another 2 years and 1, and hopefully we'll get to where I really want it to be in 3. And if not, I still did pretty good.
Yeah, it's cool to be in the game long enough that you kind of see how the years kind of compound on themselves. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't remember who said this originally, but I remember Gary Vee saying it's like people overestimate what they can do in a year and they underestimate what they can do in a decade. And that's so true.
Yeah,
it's like
if you say in 10 years I'm going to do something, you got a lot of time to get there. If you try to do 10 years of work in a year, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to quit.
Yes.
And
having, I haven't done it for 25 years, but I've done it for 10 years. And holy shit, so much has happened. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
When you go through different phases, I used to really press. I got to get this. I want to get this. I want to get to this. I want to get to that. And then things just kind of started happening. So I started to look the other way. And I'm like, well, things will happen when they're supposed to happen. And they did. But that only takes you so far. I think there's like a fine line, like right place, right time, work and perseverance, that pays off. And it's just like there's a karma thing. When you're doing the right thing for people, the right things will happen for you. If you got a bad attitude and you screw someone over or whatever, that'll come back to get you too. I learned really early on, someone that was a mentor to me, I'm not going to mention names, but they kind of stepped on a lot of people on their way up the ladder. And everyone goes down the ladder at some point.